Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are available on Anchor. And if you'd like to contact the show, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Upper Tier. Joining me tonight for a review of the Serie A season that just finished, our man, the European correspondent on the Upper Tier, huge Inter Milan fan as well. Craig, how we doing, my man?
Very good, Niall. Very good. Yourself?
Good, not too bad at all. Great to have you on for this. This is a good one for you now, because all season you speak about nothing but Italian players and talent and transfers and availability and bargains to be had and all that kind of stuff. So if anyone's reviewing Serie A, it's going to be you. Also, going forward, we'd like to let our viewers know that we're going to drop a number of Italian episodes during the summer, and then we're going to start the new season with a weekly Italian show that Craig's going to be looking after on the Upper Tier Podcast, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Let's have a quick look back. I suppose we should start definitely with Inter Milan as the place to start.
Yeah. Obviously, it was nice to get on that time. Really appreciate it that you brought me and Dino on, who from the other side of Milan. It was a great show. Very fond memories of that show. That was obviously at a period during the season when both of us were kind of like, we're in good positions, but there were still games to be played. You know what I mean? Especially in Italy, if you have a bit of a bad run, nearly like in any league, someone else can creep up behind you. And going on recent seasons, can Inter Milan stick it out? Can AC Milan stick it out when they haven't sadly done so in recent years? As we felt confident, with Conte on board, and obviously with the off goings on the pitch, players not being paid, transfers not being met. But I still felt that the players were grounded and bought into Antonio Conte, because he seems to just keep them super focused on the actual games at hand, and they paid dividends, to be fair, and like they didn't buckle,
Yeah, I think really Inter Milan, they had opened up such a gap at that stage before all the pay stuff started kicking in and stuff like that. So really, for them to have lost it would have been an absolute unbelievable collapse.
And like they consistently just kept putting people to the sword. Like literally consistently, the home record is outstanding. I think I have it here. Even the points that they picked up, like
91.
Lost 3 games all season in Serie A with the other teams that are in there,
And 89 goals scored, 35 against.
35 against.
Even the goal difference 54, like unbelievable.
Goal difference of 54, and funny enough, Milan's goal difference is only 33.
Yeah.
And they've lost 7, drawn 7, and yet they're second in the league.
Yeah. I think with AC they were a little bit unlucky as well. I mean, they lost Zlatan to injury at a pivotal time in the league, coming into the last 4, 5, 6 games maybe.
Yeah.
But they also lost him as well in the Europa League, and he only came on for that last 20 minutes against United, which really wasn't. He probably wasn't even fit. He just wanted to come on himself, I'd say.
Stefano Poli, who's the current AC Milan manager, it's like AC Milan have found what Inter Milan have been searching for, which is a bit of consistency, a bit of love, and a bit of ingredients put together to kind of get back into the renaissance of the two Milan clubs.
Yeah.
It's obviously well documented that Juventus haven't had a great season themselves, but at the same time, other teams still have to get their job done in the games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and 91 points is a good points total.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. In terms of Inter Milan, I suppose we should look at their whole season in terms of absolutely outstanding in the league. But in Europe, absolutely disastrous.
When I seen the group with Shakhtar, Gladbach and Real Madrid, I said to myself, being biased obviously, but I said, look, we should get out there with Real. Real weren't anything great, nick themselves, you know what I mean? At the time, I said, like, at worst we'll come third and we'll go into the Europa.
Yeah.
And we just absolutely were useless. It didn't look like we were switched on in Europe, if that makes sense. We just kind of let games kind of pass us by, and we were a bit like ill-concentrated in games. Gladbach put it up to us and all, like in Shakhtar and Real Madrid, who were so weakened, and you could sense there was a weakness. Gladbach, I think, put 3 past Madrid. Shakhtar bet them as well. And when it came around to air turn, we just, you know what I mean, in Europe, didn't turn up.
Just froze. And I suppose what's even more disappointing is not only did you freeze, but coming last, so you didn't even drop into the Europa League.
A worst case scenario would have been into the Europa, but finishing fourth and then looking about how Real Madrid got through with our weak and depleted side. Shakhtar and Gladbach as well. Gladbach went second. Gladbach went through. No disrespect to them, but the team and management that was in place, they should have been able to battle on both fronts. No excuses for that.
Yeah.
At least they get out of the group.
Yeah, it was a great season though when you think about it, because it was so competitive for a change. It wasn't Juventus just running away with it again as you.
Which is what, but prior to the season, I always hope, and I'll say this very openly as well, that I do like Milan being back up there, and I'll say that publicly as well. Obviously, I want Inter to finish ahead of them, but I'm so happy that they're behind us, as in right behind us, because the two of them should never be, as you rightfully said, Juventus just. How far is Juventus going to finish away with it? Like PSG sometimes in the French league.
It's weird really for AC, isn't it? Because they are European royalty, and it's just they haven't had to say that table.
More so than us, to be fair. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
they have
it's going to be great for the Champions League next year.
They have Stefano Paoli in there now, as I said, and I think what's really good for Milan is they're bleeding youth with a bit of experience, and they're gaining from it. You have Florian Tamari, who's coming in from Chelsea, who looks like he's going to sign a permanent deal. He's still a young fella, his first time ever in Italy, and he's been absolutely outstanding. He's 23 years of age. Yeah. They're paying 28 million for him. They don't do that for no reason. They would have just sent him back to Chelsea if he was no use. You look at the spine then going through, they have Sandro Tonali, who's breaking into the Italian side. Kessie, who you're probably well aware of as well from seeing him. He's an absolute monster. And then obviously, as you touched on, imagine Zlatan coming back into your side, he would automatically give you a lift in any team. And unfortunately, with injury, but with his injury, he still has, where did he have it here? He still got 15 goals in the league, which is not bad for his age and his,
Yeah, he's kind of like that Cavani effect at United, isn't he? He's like vintage,
really.
Just knows how to score, you know what I mean? He doesn't miss a whole lot, but
Milan have some really nice, if they can hold on to him, which I think they'll feel more confident that they can, like Rafael Leao, and I can't really say his name, it's Salamakers or something like that.
Yeah.
But now they're not in positions where they have to make players and sell them. Now they're in a position second in the league, let's go on and build from that. And they can hold on to people, and they can pay big money for the likes of Tamari now, which I am happy for them as well. I am happy for them.
Absolutely. And they'll also have the benefit of that Champions League money as well.
I think what you said is right. I think the Champions League, what I would like in general from Italy is a bigger threat in Europe next season. Juventus were put out. I think a lot of people look past Porto, probably myself included, but they were put out. They were put out by a team on paper who they probably should have got over two legs, you would argue. But Napoli didn't really, no Italian team did really, put a dent into Europe. I would agree, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think what happened was because Inter got off to such a flying start with AC, everyone was focusing so hard on the league at trying to peg it back. They forgot that there was this little tournament over here called the Champions League.
And it's very unlike an Italian team to not be able to fight on both fronts, as you know yourself. They usually goes hand in hand for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll get on to Juventus in a little bit. Atalanta.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, I mean, they're such a surprise package.
I have a soft spot for them. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
how could you not?
It's hard not to like them. Yeah, it's hard.
These lads are like the Leeds United of Italian football. As in, they just go out to pure attack people. They don't care if it's Juventus. They don't care if it's a bottom side. 100+ goals the last 4 seasons. Goals shared amongst the players. Have it here. Where are we now? Lewis Muriel, 22. Zapata, 15. And then the goals trickle through to the midfield. Malinowski, Gossens, I think, got double figures. The manager who they currently have, I'm a big admirer of, he's Italian, is Gianpaolo Gasparini. And he only has one way. He just lets them off the leash. They hunt the numbers. They're very, very attack-minded. And they get the job done. They finished third in the league behind AC Milan. By a point behind AC Milan.
Unbelievable,
yeah. They're a credit to themselves, and they're a credit to Italian football as well,
Yeah, it's very strange, as an Italian team, so many goals that they score, but yet in terms of defending, which is normally the bread and butter of the Italian league, they don't seem to care about it.
They throw it out the window. They're not like this Italian side where they'll protect the lead, which Italian sides are probably so renowned for.
Yeah.
They literally, we concede 2 or 3, but we'll win 5, 2 or 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a special mention for them as well. Unfortunately, they came up second hand to Juventus in the Coppa Italia in the final. So, you know, it would have been nice for them to get a trophy. But they also bet Liverpool, remember, in the group. You probably saw them play Liverpool 2-0. So they are, I don't know about going forward. I'm sure they're attracting a lot of attention to the players. And the manager, who I think I spoke to you already, he was my pick to replace Conte, but wasn't to be. But I do wish them the best. And if they stick together, they will go again, you know.
Yeah, the old managerial merry-go-round is crazy.
It is.
At the moment.
It's coming to Italy as well, because you have Gattuso has left Napoli to go to Fiorentina.
Yeah.
Spalletti, former Roma, former Inter Milan, is going to Napoli. And who else have we got in there?
Pirlo's gone.
Pirlo's gone. Allegri's coming back.
Yeah.
Which will give them a massive boost, I'm sure, in its own right.
Yeah.
And then Gasperini, you know, he could get a job. Like, I don't know why, you know, Spurs are looking for a manager. I know obviously he hasn't been mentioned, but I don't see why not. I don't see why he shouldn't be in the mix. You know what I mean? Inter Milan obviously are after getting Pippo's brother, Simeone.
Yeah.
No AC Milan relation with Simeone and Inzaghi. Pippo, obviously a legend at AC Milan.
Yeah.
He's gotten Lazio to 6th in the league, but no disrespect to Lazio, this is a different ball game in its own right. Inter Milan are back in business now, and unfortunately, I'm very devastated that Conte is leaving at this time. But I understand he doesn't have the money, and they don't have the money to back him, and they're threatening to sell the big players. Inzaghi will come in with a different approach. He's not a keen spender. My concern with Inzaghi is very, very big personalities in that Inter Milan team at the moment. Very big. Which Conte was well able to manage. As you know, Conte is a very loud and proud kind of, you know what I mean? Yeah. His word is his word.
Yeah.
I worry about Inzaghi's casual, quiet approach and his inexperience in management, but we'll see. I believe he's already held talks with Lukaku. No, I mean, you know, if manager rings you, yeah, I feel good, I'll stay. There's a Euros coming up. There's a lot to be done. You know yourself, anything can happen between now and the start of the next season.
I say it about every player. Every player is loyal to their club till an offer comes in, and then it becomes a different world.
I'll judge it when we actually start the season, and we'll see where we're at. You know,
I suppose for the players, it's you know, whether the owners get their shopping order in terms of financials and stuff like that.
The Sun group, you know, I'm a bit concerned about it, to be honest. You know, I don't want this to be a trend, and are they going to bail out and just try and get another buyer and jump ship? I don't know.
It looks like it was a very, very big project that expanded expanded too quick. And then when COVID hit and, you know, all the lockdowns and that financial impact of that, when they really felt it.
When they bought it from Massimo Moratti, like, they basically went on a shopping spree for us. Obviously, you would see with the players we acquired, you know what I mean? But as you rightfully said, when COVID hit and you owe money and you owe installments, it's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah, and the problem that they face as well is Inter Milan was part of a bigger group, and there was other teams as well. And those other teams were hurting really, really badly as well. So I think they ended up selling off one of the Chinese teams that they had, didn't they?
And they sold electronics, I think, as well in Asia as well.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, it's like a holding company within a company, as in clubs, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But although the financial turmoil that's going on there, I mean, they haven't been quick to come out. Although they've had problems like paying players and wages and meeting transfers and stuff like that, they haven't publicly come out and said that they'd be open to an offer for the club.
And they haven't publicly, sadly, come out either and said that we're keeping our best players.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, they've kind of left that really to the players, haven't they?
Look, I'm not going to, Lukaku had, he's not going to say, no, I'm not going to be here when the new manager rings you, you know. He has a tournament to go to, his focus is on that, you know what I mean?
Plus, I suppose, if you're winning Serie A and you're in a really good team that's successful, you don't always want to leave. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of talent in there, which I'm very concerned. All over the pitch, Barella, Lautaro Martinez, Skriniar, De Vrij, Hakimi, the core, the full team, the foundations are there, you know.
Yeah, you look at that starting 11, and that starting 11 could find itself any of them in a position in any of the good clubs that are out there, really, you know, they're all really, really good players, you know,
completely
as shown in
agree.
their form this year, you know.
Completely agree.
Let's move on to Juventus. I mean, this is the conundrum that kind of needs to be figured out, and I know a lot of our viewers wouldn't be as in tune with Italian football. But when you think about Juventus and you think about going to the last day of the season to scrape fourth, and everything that goes with it, and you think about the money that they've invested, you've got Ronaldo, Rabiot, all these kind of players that have gone.
I have it here as well. Where are we now? Ronaldo.
Ramsey went in there. You know what I mean? Like, they've brought in a ton of players.
Matthias De Ligt.
Yeah, and they've kind of fallen. And then you hear reports coming out that, like, you know, prior to sealing that top 4 position, you heard that Ronaldo was shipping his prized assets back to Lisbon and all this kind of stuff. And you're thinking, well, he's obviously thinking this ain't going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, he's out of here.
Ronaldo got 29 goals in 33 games in the Serie A season. And it's so people, in case they're not tuned in so much with Italy, it's not all on Ronaldo. It's not, if he has a good season, the Juventus have a good season. In my opinion, everyone's entitled to their opinion. In my opinion, it's a number of factors. Inter Milan got better, got hungrier. AC Milan got better, got hungrier. Juventus were not really moving on. Kind of similar to Barca, the aging players. Some deals which were a bit questionable. Will McKennie on loan from Schalke, Pjanic and Arta swapping from Barca. Not like Juventus. As you rightfully said, spend money on big players. It's not a surprise with Juventus, you know what I mean? But them kind of deals were questionable, I think, in their own right. And then Matthias De Ligt just hasn't settled in Italian football. Like, it's clear as day, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he seems to be the outsider as well, doesn't he? He's like,
they were commenting on his clothing about, you know, he wears casual, and he says, yeah, I want to wear casual, but, you know, Italian is very formal and very old school.
Yeah.
And he doesn't fit the
Juventus would be very dapper.
Traditional.
Yeah, they'd be very dapper in the way. They'd be very Armani, if you like, very.
And I think the players didn't appreciate his casual approach. Even when they're traveling loyal to away games, they'll come full Armani, they'll come, you know what I mean?
Especially when you're only new in the door.
Yeah, you have to set an example.
And you're arriving in there, you know, like, you don't kind of, I suppose if you're playing for Juventus, there's an expectation of you because you're a marketing tool as well, and you have to market yourself.
A certain quality is expected of you.
Like, you know, when the marketing stuff comes out for Juventus, you know, when they release new kits or training gear, or, you know, if they're advertising aftershave or deodorant or whatever the hell it is, the ads are pristine. The guys are pristine. It's like you know, these are footballers, but they're actual models. You know what I mean? And the way they're done.
There's an Italian essence. There's an Italian essence of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just, you know, with him going in there, it's they probably felt a little bit disrespected as well. You know what I mean? Here's a guy coming in who nearly has the arse out of his jeans. He's getting paid millions. You know, brush up, mate. Everyone else is arriving in a 3-piece suit with a shirt and a tie. You're arriving in with a jumper around your shoulders, you know?
When Matthias De Ligt's move happened, a lot of people thought he was already a proven player, which it wasn't the case. There's so much he could learn. Imagine Chiellini and Bonucci either side of you. Imagine the wealth of knowledge you would have gained if you had went in respectful. And, you know, I want to learn between these two lads. Imagine, you couldn't put a price on that.
Well, how do you not learn how to be an absolutely brilliant player if you're surrounded by those guys? You know?
It's impossible. And I have it here. Where are we now with Juventus? Which is a bit of a mad one. Draw 9, lost 6 in a Serie A campaign. 39 goal difference.
Yeah.
What's your opinion yourself looking in on the Juventus?
Do you know what it was? I think it boiled down, and I hate to say it because I'm such a big fan of Pirlo. What a player he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, if you're going to stand up like a boxing match and you're going to give me Pirlo versus Conte, there's only going to be one winner. You know what I mean? And I just thought...
It's sentimental, sadly, you know?
Yeah, I thought, like, Pirlo going in to manage Juventus would be the equivalent of Gerrard, you know, going in to manage Liverpool in such an infancy in his career.
It's impossible.
It's too much, you know what I mean? And, you know, again, you add to that as well, Inter Milan with such a great start to the season, Juventus, you know, not getting off to what they should have gotten off.
What they should have done. Yeah.
Yeah, silly little draws. I mean, they got off. Obviously, they started off well, you know, a 3-0 win against Sampdoria and stuff like that. No, but then, you know, drawn against Roma, drawn against Crotone or whatever they're called. I think it's Crotone.
Yeah, Crotone.
Yeah, and then, you know, drawn with Verona.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just constantly,
No,
you know, drawn with Lazio. You know, I mean, I think they started out. Did they start out with what, 3 wins and 5 draws or something like that? So straight away, Inter Milan were straight out of the traps. You know,
that's usually us or AC. You know what I mean? In a standard kind of in recent seasons.
So straight away, someone like Pirlo was under pressure already, and straight away, I'm sure, like, you know, you've rumblings from Ronaldo and all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then obviously struggling as well in the Champions League. If you look at the Champions League, you know, obviously they won against Dynamo Kiev. You'd expect that, you know what I mean? But then going out and getting beaten by Barcelona.
Bet them, yeah.
You know, beating Dynamo Kiev, but again, then they went and they bet Barcelona 3-0 in the new camp, which was a great win, you know. But just, again, just struggled. It seemed like instead of everything being kind of effortless for them, it kind of everything, you know, took that so much more effort to happen. It wasn't as fluid or as flowing as.
And they weren't. I don't think they were ready for that either. I think it was a bit of a culture shock for Juventus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, especially when you're surrounded by the two Milan teams coming back as a force.
Yeah,
you know I mean?
Allegri coming back though does give me a bit of worry and concern because I know how respected he is at Juventus and I know how father-like he is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I suppose if you had Conte there, you'd be less.
Yeah,
you'd be less worried. And then Conte versus Allegri will be an absolute.
That'd be great.
Of a season. Yeah.
Look, no disrespect to Simeone and Zaghi, but going by on his own career, you know, he has a Coppa Italia under his belt. It's not, unfortunately, the pedigree of Antonio Conte, but at the same time, he has to make his own mark, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want him to come in and just kind of be quiet and we're going to sell a load of players. And, like, you know, he's in there just to kind of accept it. And Inter Milan will fall away by the wayside again. Juventus will be back, with no doubt about that. Like.
Yeah.
And I just hope that we're going to be ready for that. And at the moment, I'm looking at it, cannot see people coming in. I can only see people going out the door, unfortunately.
You're going to have a similar situation, aren't you? Because now you're going to have Allegri going back into Juventus, and he's going to be that kind of key guy. And then you have Inzaghi coming into Inter.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nearly that same conundrum where you guys had Conte and
it's like a roles reversed kind
roles reversed again, yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I suppose the key thing is to try and hang on to the players and maybe add a few.
It could make a perfect sense for AC Milan because they can go about their business quietly. They can keep Stefano Paoli and add to it. You know, if they can do that.
I think with AC, I think, you know, the key for them is really keeping Zlatan fit. Really, you know what I mean. That's going to be
keeping Kessie and
yeah.
Donnarumma has obviously moved on. They've got the little goalkeeper.
But I just think it might be a bit of a stretch for AC Milan as well. I think the pivotal move that was made there was Allegri was sniffing around a number of jobs and Juve pushed the button on him. You know what I mean? And I think that's a pivotal move. That's Juve saying to you guys,
emergency button.
We're back this season. We're going to show you boys what we're about.
Yeah, I fully expect it. Ronaldo or not, I think they will be. You know what I mean? I do think he'll get the house in order.
Absolutely.
There's definitely, though, touching on, obviously we said at the start, there's some really good talent in other teams, though. Like, I mean, talent that can be exploited into Europe or hopefully into my team and into Milan.
Yeah.
Some serious players in there. I know people frown upon the Italian league about its quality and stuff, but don't be fooled as well. There is good quality and good young talent in there. Like,
well, Inter are going to find themselves in a position where, I mean, would you agree? Are Inter going to have to sell to buy?
Yeah, and sadly, is it going to be a case of sell and make do with what we have around the club? I don't even know if it's going to be a sell to buy with this money that, you know, if they don't have money, are they going to be willing to give it to Inzaghi? Or is Inzaghi going to be more reserved and say, oh, I don't need that much. He's not a spender. No, he's not really a spender.
Maybe Inter could make the move similar to what AC did and maybe tie down a couple of nice loan moves.
Yeah,
that might be the way they'll have to go.
If it's the right move, I hope it's not for the sake of it to keep the fans happy, as in, you know, we're doing this deal because we're trying. And I want people to kind of come in and hopefully Inter Milan can stay up there or thereabouts again and have a European challenge. Do I see it? No, I don't, because I'm very concerned about who stays and who goes, regardless of what they say now. There's a long way to go.
Yeah.
Hakimi has been touted by Paris Saint-Germain already. Lukaku has had conversations about staying. But again, he has the good Euros. Chelsea knock on the door. City knock on the door. What's he gonna do? He has a Serie A under his belt, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he'd love no more to go back to England and prove everybody wrong as well.
Yeah, it's like it's like somebody goes off and has a real good Euros, and they throw another 10 million on them, and they go, "Okay, it's good to go now."
And they're not going to say no in the
No.
predicament that they're in. You know what I mean?
And the player isn't going to say no either. I mean, he's staring down the barrel. I mean, that's 2 huge moves for him in the space of what, 3 years? Is it 2
Would
years?
Conte leave if he was getting the backing? No. Would Conte leave if he had assurances of money and his players were being kept? He wouldn't have left. You know what I mean? I don't think so.
I think with Conte as well, I think Conte has decided that moving around is a good thing.
He is a short stayer, isn't he? Like,
yeah,
he is a short stayer.
Yeah, now, like he's no problem going back to where he's been before, but I think he likes to move around. I think he likes the deals. And I think he's very clever that way as well, because I think he does recognise that, like, the task ahead of him this season with Allegri going back in, they'll probably spend some money. Juventus, they have a few bob. You know what I mean? They're also going to probably shift out a few lads that haven't worked out. The likes of Rabiot, I know, is available and stuff like that.
Ramsey will probably be moved on.
Ramsey will be moved on as well. So they'll bring in key players in those positions. They're not scared to spend money. Whereas you look at Inter, as you said, with Conte, they're not going to have a whole lot of money. They may have to sell to buy. They may have to work out a few loan moves. As you said, is it loan moves just for the sake of it to make up squad numbers? Are they going to be loan moves on the level of, say, a Tamari at AC Milan?
Which is has worked out fair. What a spot that is. Like.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting conundrum, but I'm quite excited to see Inzaghi as a manager and see, you know, at that level, how is he going to fare out now, you know?
He likes a 3-5-2 from looking at Lazio. I had a bit of a look at him, obviously, coming into Inter Milan. He does like a 3-5-2, traditional Italian. Obviously, and his brother's an Italian absolute legend, and he's had 20 plus years with Lazio in its own right.
Yeah.
If we had money, or if what you said is correct, if we had money that we sell players, we get money in. Imagine he goes, I want Milinkovic-Savic or something like. I'd be buzzing because he's obviously worked for him at Lazio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was something like that now, or Immobile, what if Lukaku goes and he goes, I think Immobile could fit the bill?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I wouldn't be against it. I am really intrigued.
He'd probably get those guys at good prices as well.
Good relationship
so
with
you
them.
know, if Lukaku goes, Lukaku might go for, say, anywhere between maybe 80 or
80 or so. I would say so. Yeah.
So you know, he could bring in 4 players for that type of money. You know what I mean? So,
or is he gonna? You know, he's not the Antonio. He's more within himself. He's more quiet. He's more tactical, and Conte is obviously more, you know, outrageous and out there, and totally different styles.
Totally different personality. But I would say as well, I mean, after being at Lazio and stuff like that, like Lazio are not the kind of club either that bite their lip either. They're quite vocal in their love or their hate for a situation.
Like they, you know, obviously it's about beating Roma for them, but also as well they feel the right to be up there challenging the big boys as well in their own right. To be fair to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm intrigued, but I'm realistic as well. I think we could have a bit of trouble on our hands with Allegri coming back, and depending on how Milan play it as well. What do you make of? Do you think Napoli? Would you rule them out as in a top contender? And Spalletti, you know, he had a good time at Roma, didn't have a good time at Inter Milan. Came in to try and plug a gap, didn't work.
Yeah.
But Napoli, you know, are they going to sell?
Napoli's kind of a weird one, isn't it?
It is a weird one.
You look at Napoli and you look at the parts that are at Napoli and you go, they've everything there to succeed.
They've a great squad.
Yeah, to succeed.
Yeah, they do.
And then they go out and they put on great results where they go out and they'll win 4 or 5-0 or 5-1 or 4-1. It's never a boring game with them. But then they'll go out and they'll just lose to, let's say, like a Sassuolo, or you know, they just drop the ball in those games. I don't know whether it's attention to detail. I don't know whether it's a mental thing where, you know, they go on a number of wins and then they just get fatigued and drop the ball. I don't know. Was it
inexperience from Gattuso's part? Possibly. You know,
but you look at Napoli's season and where you see where they've dropped points, and you're going, how did that happen? You know what I mean? It's just so weird.
It's another case of teams on paper who they should be beating, no disrespect to the teams.
Yeah, but you see them like they're drawn with Torino. You know, they're getting beaten by Spezia. You know, and you're just looking at all those different things and you're going, that's where your season comes unraveled. And then if you look at the last day of the season, they had to get a result to stay in the top four and keep Juventus out of it.
Yeah, that's all.
They draw with Verona, and
they were winning. Were they 1-0?
Yeah, they were 1-0 up.
Yeah.
It's so weird with Napoli. It's such a conundrum and trying to figure out. And with a guy like Gattuso, you know what I mean? Like,
as in a 1-0 lead with him management, it's second nature to him. He should be able to install a bit of, we can protect the lead if we want it. It's the last game of the season. We're not going to go madly.
This guy was a general at AC Milan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's his bread and butter.
Even for his size,
There's a lad at Napoli in the centre midfield. He played very well against Liverpool, but he's a very, very good. He reminds me a bit of Xavi Alonso. His name's Fabian in the midfield. And with Napoli, it's like that kind of little brother who never goes away. As in, they're hanging around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never want to rule them out completely out.
Yeah.
Because they always kind of just chip him back.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're always there chipping away and thereabouts. But you're never gonna walk into a bookies with a betting slip for them.
Yeah,
that kind of way.
Hitting the bar. They're hitting the bar nearly as such. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's kind of weird that way. But fantastic club. But I don't know whether they'll be. I suppose for Napoli, I suppose it depends. The whole league coming up is going to be a structure of like. We know what's going to happen with Juventus. Allegri's going to go back in. They're going to be solid. They're going to be back to where they kind of were. They'll probably make a few signings, as we said, and ship a few guys out. So they're going to be ready to go. They're going to be pumped up to make amends. Inter is the unknown thing because we don't know. You've got Inzaghi going in, very different personality. A lot of personalities in that dressing room. Are they going to be able to hang on to them? Are they going to lose them? Are they going to have to do loan deals? Are they going to have money available from sales? Or will the money go back into the holding company?
The holding company.
So it's very hard for us at the moment to say what we think is going to happen.
And with the Euros thrown into the blender, it's even more hard to say. I don't know.
Because my thinking, if you were asking me right now today, I would say I think Juventus will win this year. And I think on the back of that, I think Inter could nearly, if they're not careful, depending on what happens, could drop down into fourth.
I agree because I'm realistic about it.
Or potentially lower even. Depending on what happens.
You have to be realistic about the situation, you know what I mean? And I know what's coming and what could possibly come.
Well, if that happens as well, it's a very delicate squad as well. And you're going to be fighting on all fronts again this year, back in the Champions League and everything. So that squad.
This might be already out of Inzaghi's hands and it might not have anything to do with his managerial capabilities. This will be driven by the holding company who are in financial turmoil, and that has to be sorted out. This is no reflection on Inzaghi at all. If anything, it's a reflection on Inzaghi, who's going to come in and try and steady a ship maybe through a transition. I think, like, being realistic and with Allegri, with everything going on, I think Champions League football, instead of retaining Serie A, wouldn't be the worst outcome at this moment in time with everything. In my opinion.
And maybe a cup.
Maybe a cup. He does he's done well in the Coppa Italia.
Yeah.
He has that under his belt. But I think for him, it's about, and the club itself is how we deal with the transition of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be a real interesting time. This is going to be a real interesting season. But again, what we said was we are going to be dropping shows throughout the summer as well. We're going to be looking at key moves and stuff like that if players do start to move out. Also, what we should do is we'll start tracking Italian players in Serie A. We'll track them through the Euros.
I'll give you a few mentions.
Absolutely.
It's Italian at 11 as well. Like Locatelli at Sassuolo is amazing talent. Dominic Berardi's at Sassuolo as well. Barella is at Inter Milan. But then you look at people who are the young player of the season, I think, was Vlahovic. He's at Fiorentina, the striker who I told you about.
Yeah.
Rodrigo De Paul from Udinese, who looks like he could go to Atletico Madrid, is outstanding. He's Argentinian. There is talent there. And if you can get the right bit of talent, for the right price, it could make all the difference. And Italy are at that kind of fine stage now where they finally, unlike what Juventus would wish to be like or hope to be like, Italy have the blend of youth coming now with the experience, that they have a nice mould and a very fine balanced team, that they could be a dark horse in the Euros themselves. They take their competitions very seriously, the Italians.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, it'll be very interesting to track those players. Plus, the blend of other European players that are in there that are playing in Serie A.
Milinkovic-Savic, Serbia, Lukaku,
yeah, all those players.
De Vrij from the Dutch team. Yeah. And again, if anyone obviously would like to come on and who has an Italian team, I'm more than welcome to have them on. I'd like to hear their opinions. I'd like to hear their Italian team, or what players they would like for their Italian team, or their expectations. Would be great to hear back.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have anyone on the show at any time, you know. But yeah, we'll be relying on you throughout the season to keep us posted and updated on all these things.
You'll know by me reactions.
yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. But yeah, this has been a great look back at last season, really, and it's you know, as you said, you were delighted obviously because your team was back there where it belongs. But safe to say, Juve were in a little bit of transition. Safe to say, AC were unlucky, obviously, with injuries towards the end of the season. Atalanta, we know what they give you. They just give you goals and they don't care. And it's a breath of fresh air, really, to see that in an Italian league and an Italian team, because Italian teams, as we know, they're always based on the best of defenses and stuff like that.
These lads throw the book out the window.
These lads turn around and go, like, it's like as if Atalanta fell into the Italian league and it was the wrong league they went into or something like that, or the wrong country.
Nobody said we had to defend as well.
Absolutely. But listen, pleasure as always having you on to take a look back at anything football related. You're always a regular on the Monday mashup. You're obviously part of our new one, the Shankly Sessions. Going out on a weekly basis, Liverpool podcast. So it is really onwards and upwards for the upper tier. We're expanding all the time with new shows constantly. Head over to Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube. That's where you'll find us all the time. To support us, smash, subscribe, like, comment, let us know your thoughts on the shows. You'll obviously find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you want to hit us up, if you want to come on the show, discuss anything Italian football, or if you want to have an input in the Liverpool podcast or the general shows that we do. We're always pumping out match reactions and previews and all that kind of good stuff, any breaking news. We obviously have the transfer show on there as well with myself and Dean on a weekly basis, where we go through the latest news and transfers. And, you know, I mean, with the manager merry-go-round at the moment, it's absolutely crazy, especially for Italy, you know. And Conte with Spurs at the moment. We'll be talking about that on tomorrow's transfer show.
And I believe they're getting, as an Italian director, former Juventus could be coming into Tottenham as well, from what I could read.
Yeah, it's I don't know. The whole thing is just
merry-go-round madness.
I'm nearly this year as excited about the managerial situation as I am about the players. But yeah, pleasure as always. Anchor for audio versions of the show. This has been your look back at the Serie A season with Craig. Cheers, bud.
Cheers. Thanks.